Well, hey everyone, it's Dave with Ozark Spider Rides, and we just had lunch at Arby's here in Lebanon, Missouri, and you can see this library and Route 66 Museum from the parking lot. So we're headed over, we're getting ready to go inside, and just as soon as we get in, we go straight down the hall and you turn right, and here is the entrance to the Route 66 Museum. Now, this is not a very large museum. It's just something that the city of Lebanon did. And this case has some models of what some of the houses would have looked like in the 1950s. And as you can see, they're very small. People didn't have a lot of money back then, and houses were not very big. These posters did not show up very well, but it just shows some of the scenery that you would have seen in the 1950s traveling through this part of the country, which was not very well populated. Here on the left, we have the service station with the 1950s vintage car. That's a real car. Those are the authentic pumps. And that's kind of what a gas station would have looked like. It was not self-service. Everything was pumped. They checked your tire pressure, your battery, oil, anything you needed checked. Very different than what we have today, where everybody has to pump their own. So as we go down the hall here to the right, they have a diorama of what I guess they called them motor lodges. I can't think of the name, but we did not have the Howard Johnsons, the Holiday Inns, and Embassy Suites, and all those things back in the day. So as we move down the hall, just a lot of memorabilia, things that are all period correct from, the time the highway was built. Route 66 ran from Chicago to L.A. So if you want to know all the towns in between, go look up the song, get your kicks on Route 66, because they name a lot of the town. There's Will Rogers' picture there. And this little restaurant, I guess, is not to scale. It just shows some of the things that they would have had in the 1940s and 50s. Whoever did those Cinnabons or whatever they are there, they look pretty real. I kind of like to have had one of those. And the rest of this is just period correct stuff. And when we get on to the back of the room, there's actually an old telephone switchboard. And I always found those things kind of interesting, because there's not very many lines coming into them. There's got to be a port for everybody that calls in. But then they had ways to connect one operator station to another one farther down the line. They just daisy-chained them together until they got where they wanted to be. Now there's the salt and pepper shaker collection from Route 66. And the old Motor Lodge rooms were not very big. They were cabins. And they didn't have much in them, just a bed. They did have steam heat in this one, a radio. And when we get around the corner, you can see in it a little bitter. They did have a bathroom in them. But they didn't have much to offer. Basically, it was a place to get out of the rain and out of the weather and stay warm or whatever. They were not air conditioned, but very few people had air conditioning back in those days, so that was not uncommon. Here's a list of the things that were donated to make up the room, and they're authentic things. And as we move on from here, then we begin to realize that back when Route 66 was built, a lot of the roads were still mud, and so the automobiles did not have very good tires. And I can remember my granddad talking about that. And there's some of the paving stones and even blocks of wood that they used to make some of the city streets back in the day, because they didn't have a lot of blacktop and stuff like that yet. So kind of an interesting museum. Not much to it. The city of Lebanon actually built this museum, and they talk about how they did not want Route 66. So it's a little bit interesting. So if you like this sort of thing, stop in. It's not hard to find. It's right off the main street, right behind Arby's. And if you like it, go ahead and subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and then we'll try to do something maybe a little more interesting on the next one. So keep your spiders in good shape, y'all, and ride safe, and we'll catch you on the next one.